Can you give her a warmly welcome? Yeah, exactly. No problem. It's good. Maybe you can start with a little bit background, your work, something like that. Okay. คุณเบ็ดนะต้องมองเสียเร็วๆนี่ก่อน
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me in your place of worship tonight.
นี่ตักฟ้ามั่วนะเบียกุนะยะนะเบียกเบียกนาวะกี่กงเกี่ยวที่มันนะน้องสับมันลุงนำเปียวมาเงี้ยลุงนำกงเงี้ย
I see some familiar faces from my journey.
ก็ที่งี้ปอลคัดส่งของมูเจนูละกันมั่ว
I have a new job from when I used to work at World Relief.
นี่ดังนะ World Relief อะเซมิงนะไอ้ตรงนะน่าเสพทักขัดตุไลตะกินะกันนี่ก็เสพไหลตะกี้
Right now, I am a social worker at the police department.
ผลิตเต Department Police Department นะ Social ลำตัวกิสัยตาวันก็เลยไหลตะกี้มั่ว
So my job is to help refugees and immigrants who are victims of crime.
เกย์น่าเสพเป็นฮี refugee เต immigrants ที่นี่มากัมเบลเตฮี crime ตัวกิสัยทุพพลสัตนาตัวเสียนาเตตัวกิสัยตัวลำมาตาวันรับเดียวเองมั่ว
I also teach a lot, and I teach people about who police are in the U.S.
แต่เชื่อไงนะก็น่าเสพขัดเร็วๆวะทูฮิลมั่วทูฮิลนะบางทูฮิลก็ย้ำจีเล่ U.S. ผลิตจิตเตเป็นกวาดเตเฮียมจิตของฮิลมีฮิลเสียเฮียง
And I also talk about crimes because crimes happen anywhere in the world.
แต่เชื่อไงนะบางฮิลไลก็เฮียมจิเล่ crime จินาเดนายจิทุพพลสัตนาลาวไว้นาอีตัวขังนาตัวกิสัยตัวเตจงฮิลิงบางย้ำจิเล่ตัวลาวไว้ประตูนาเป็นมุนเข้มตัวกิตัวขยายเจียงอ่ะ
Some of the crimes that we will talk about tonight may be difficult to talk about.
ไอ้เป่านะ crime มงที่เดียวนั่นมั่วไอ้เป่านะอิเล็กเล็กช็อตนะ crime ที่จะได้นาทุพพลสัตนาลาวไว้ประตูนามั่วได้เรียกการเขียนดิ้งหักษานะตัวนี้ crime ถูตัวกิสัยกงเกนนะไอ้ผู้ลักดิ้งหักษาปอดขัดส่งอมขัดให้ดิ้งไอ้
Crime is never a happy thing to talk about, but it is important to
บาง
talk about.
ผู้ลักดิ้งหักษายามจิเล crime มิจิเป็นไม่ไต่เฉยช่วยซา crime กินเองจิบางอมโลมั่วแต่เจ้าหักษามาผู้ลักดิ้งหักษาขัดให้
So to start our conversation tonight, when you hear the word police, what words come to mind?
ตัวนี้คิดปัดนั่นเองนะผลิตจิอิสักพอดีนะนั่นลุงซิโมบางอมเฮียม
Guardians, scared, guns,
จริง
arrest,
ของเกมเตะอาลาวไวเตะจีของเห็นนะมั่ว
safety. What was that? Yeah, sometimes that means something is wrong. Good. Any other words come to mind?
นั่นลุงซิโมบางของสวกก็อย่าผลิตจินะจักเพื่อวัว arrest
Arrest. In your country, could you trust the police?
นะกำมวยผลิตเตะน้ำมวงไม่เฮียเลย actually he was born here
Oh, he was born here.
no ว่าจีเสียนทองเป็นอาสวะนะกอลก็ไม่รู้อยู่นี่ต่างอาสวะมา
Well, thank you for your response. I appreciate
น้อง
that.
ดอนกีกนาเตวน้ำไม้ไตนาเตวลุงน้ำเมย์
Unfortunately, I hear that a lot. In my old country, I could not trust the police.
ก็เต็นตันเพียงนาเตะตัวด้านนี้นะผลิตจีเป็นเอาอยู่หลำวีเวียองเกนกีกุมั่วผลิตอีแบกรองอีตัวขังไงนาถูเตะมั่วตัว
I would like to explain that police in the US, you can trust them.
Ya tu ni bang ong sian pia ong gen tel gen nom kayam chile US ya palik te pen namuan te dingu mi te hi chinang gen nom hi.
They are held to a very high standard and have to be honest.
Ina amau tentana ki piak chianga de taka training to bang to hi na hoi taka mi khem lo ding hoi taka gam ta ding chia standard sang taka tentana ki pete hi ma.
Police are what we call protectors, and they are willing to risk their lives to save someone.
Paliki chi te pen protector ke chi na ong chingong kem te mi I nun ta na la hoi na panina achinga kem te hi mo.
Right here it says there is accountability. Does anyone know what accountability means?
Hi tenga accountability chi na accountability chi khian na athei no mu yanu kyanga khadin dong ve wala tawan bang responsible tawan you ben responsible lai ve. She said responsible.
Yes, they will be held responsible if they choose to be dishonest.
To hi na tawan you more responsibility chang na hi a khian na pen bang hiam khat ama ong khem na khat zuaw tat khem hi le amau pen amau tunga mo puang na om ding chi na mo.
So police are just like you and me. They can make good decisions and they can also make bad decisions.
Chiang na nang le ke ma bang hi mo khavi chiang na ahoi mama ki khen tat the khavi chiang na ahoi kholo jong ki khen tat ve ve mo nang le ke dan ma to ki bang ve ve mau jong.
But if they break the law, they will be held accountable or responsible.
Ayanga palik ai zen zen nga law up tu hun law apal sat zen zen le amau jong mo puak na ni ve ve mo accountable mo puak na ni kha ve ve to kha ve ve di.
So generally there are 3 types of police jobs.
Palik te I na sep pe na tang pi na nam thum hong ina ki khen the.
The first one is called community outreach.
Akhat pen mangpau na community outreach na mitang pi te to vaki thua vaki so vaki mit vaki mu ma to ran nam palik te I ana sep khat.
This type of police gets to know the people in their neighborhoods.
Idan palik te pen amawi in venga kwa te om kwa chidan te om chidan amau to palik te na theina dinga han chiam ma.
They teach people about safety and they listen to the community needs.
To changa hi dan palik te pen koi chidan hi le ki kem thei ding la wai na panina ki dal thei ding to chang ina amau minam sunga amau I mi sunga bangdan kisam chi te mo la wai na to kisai koi chidan le tuak lo ding chi dan te amau han chiamu.
The type of police that we're most familiar with are the patrol.
Hi na hi palik nam khat leo pen atam zon I thei pen patrol police ki chi na to te hi pa mo patrol. We don't have a word to translate patrol, so
No,
I just
okay.
translate patrol.
Yes. And they are the ones that drive around in the neighborhoods in the cars looking for emergencies.
Hi patrol chi te pen moto to vak koi en koi ina bang chiria emergency khong om le mo to te vak koi a en na pheksa agam tang lien te ve.
And then another type of police is called a detective.
I palik nam khadom leo ina ei pau ina bel song thau ei pau bel lien ke ven mo ei pau song thau ki chi mo kol pau ina detective ki chi mo palik nam khat te tukan hi bo ma de yeah
Tukani, is that the word for
yeah
detective?
tukan is
Tukani?
detective.
Okay. And their job is to look for evidence after a crime.
Ina hi tukan te ina se pen crime china dena ei pawina bel direct ka khiat ding haksa na kol paw la mu khen ki chen ma gam tat khial na to mu khen tuam ki tha namo bang lo khat awm chianga bang da na te chiom ning yam chi amau a khonung lama azong te ma.
So every city divides itself into different regions called precincts.
Hina I khwa khat pe namau aneu ne wa ki khen be na precinct ke china to ma amau I yat kwat da na ma khwa khat hi nak le ayat kwat ki khen be lai.
This is a map of Nashville divided into 8 colors.
Tua hi imu pen Nashville khosung hi na kala nam giat to ki khen ma.
This church is in the Hermitage precinct.
Tua iom na po hi biakin pen Hermitage precinct Hermitage yat kwat sunga om ma.
This is Nolensville Pike.
Tua pen Nolensville.
If you live on the right side toward Antioch, you are in South Precinct.
Antioch I atak lama no mole no pen South achi na lama mon ni anwai lam chi mai ni South lama.
And if you live on the left side of Nolensville, you live in Midtown Hills Precinct.
Nolensville I vei lam hi leo le Midtown Hills yat kwat mo precinct ki chi.
So if you know your precinct, you can put the number of your community coordinator sergeant.
Hina tua no I omna yat kwat thei leo chin no I yat kwat I amakai pi pa mo balik makai te I min te zong ki thei pa ding.
A community coordinator sergeant, we call it a COCO.
Community hi yat kwat khat tawan khan pa aya thua kilo na pen ko kichi ma. I never heard that word too.
It's like a nickname. It's a short name.
Nickname mo na bang chiding min neu da na kilo na mo.
So for me, I live in South Precinct and I have Coco Fernandez. I have his number in my phone.
Kay bang to ya Nashville South lamam kai changa to tenga palik makai pi pa pen ko pen ya aminom anamba jong chiam te kan ne ka phong songa.
And COCOs are police officers that do community engagement.
Hi ko chi te pen amawi na sepadi ka bangyam chi le mitang pi to kizom phadeu mo amawi na sepna.
So you can use them to tell them about things that are happening in your neighborhood.
Wa hi na hi te bang pen kwa bang chidan te ki kupi ki gen te yam chi le gen te na yet kwata tua thu tua la huai thu tua dan om hi chia amau tunga ki gen te mitang pi to ma ki zom te changa.
So maybe the cars are driving too fast and your little siblings or your son or daughter plays in your yard and you're afraid for them.
Gen te na na lampia speed khau taka hol ve wa khong om changa ai te yang ki gen te mo nau pang khong in isangam nau pang nau neu te khong ki molina mo to hat hol ma khong om chiang ina hi te tunga to ran ka yet ko ta om hi che ki report the.
If you wanted someone from the police department to come and talk to your community about safety, you could ask your COCO.
Ta chiang ina palik amau ku dai ngia ta hi tawan khan pi te bang no I mi pi sunga mi te laka hi safety to ki sai mo long chong yi to ki sai ongen le chi khong na deu le hi te bang no I yat kwat ala ya contact thei ding mo.
And you can also invite them to any holidays or festivals that would
poi tuam zo minam ni chi te mo aman do zo minam ni chi sam ke na to te sam the.
So maybe it's a little hard to think of police as friends when you see the blue lights in your mirror.
Ida na moto tapeza izai te mo le hang bel I lom mo igal mo chi hile igal hi pian zo mo.
Does anyone get nervous when they see the blue lights?
Thế giờ đây là vòng chỉ là một ô tô chiang pian lo nai wa.
Me too, and I work for the police.
Kenya palikte to kasep khowanga ke jong nar chiang thei mo nervous thei.
So next we're going to talk about what you should do if you are pulled over in the car.
To chiang ina to konggen nop lewa I palikte na ameyong phesak ding to chiang ina bang che lam kia nga kholin chi dana ong khol sak zen le bang chi ding chi ong gen nom lai.
So if you see the blue lights, the first thing you need to do is slow down.
I nanunga I akele moto apia namu nak le apia yong apia sai namu nak le nahi masak pen ding mangyam chila na moto aseng sho ding.
And then find a safe place to pull over.
Ta aseng sho bek tham lo na khol na ding alem mahiam chi zong ding ina alem na khol na ding alem chenga na khol na ding alem na anola khol ding ma.
Sorry, my slideshow is not working all the way.
Ka PowerPoint pen sen pitak ke ina yang.
So things you should not do, you should not run away. That's
na palikte I apesai zaya moto to na kimu nak le bang ong khol sak nak le na hi lo ding pen tai mangop lo dim ma.
I have heard stories from my former refugee students that we had to run away because the police would take my documents.
Hi na ken khat yin ten tan ka piak lai na I refugee sang nau pang ten tan ka piak lai ya sang nau pang khat ina bangyam chile ke pen kat tai lo pa mo hi chi bang yam chile palikte nong man le kamat pong ten ID tom document te ong lak sak de ja kat tai lo pa mo hi chi ya ngai suning ong chingei.
That will not happen in the US.
US ya to adana palikte nong mok lak sak gob di chi thel lo di mo tai lo ding hi zo.
I've also been to countries where they have to keep special money in case they run into the police.
Wait, I'm sorry, I lost.
I've also been in countries where you have to carry special money just in case you run into the police.
Hi na pol khat leo cheng gam pol khat mo ip sunga sum koi hi khe na palik to ki to le palik te phek sa piak chi khong jong gam pol khat om dani to kai me mo ko gam chi gen ke ni me.
You do not bribe police with money or anything.
Sum bang za ta na po jong palik te gol guk pasim miat lo ding ki pathei lo hitanga mo.
If you try to convince the police with money, you will go to jail.
Palik te pen sumong pen ning na ong swak ta sakin na chi zen le pen ong swak ta sak lo bek tam lo thongang khum lian ding.
Okay? So we don't run away and we don't bribe the police.
Tai gop lo ding ma hi ak san nai to tai gop lo ding to cheng palik te gol guk sum pe lo ding.
Things that you should do is be respectful.
Na hi ding te la ka to da na to chang bang yam chi le za tak bang taka respectful chi ja tong gop hap som gop lo ding ina respectful taka mo lisa taka palik te set san ding.
You should look the police officer in the eyes.
Na palik pa pen amit en gi ge di mo anol khong wa khon de le azwa tarong sa de cha.
Many cultures don't want to look authorities or elders in the eye. It's disrespectful.
Pol khat ngi na tom te la ka pol khat ngi na pol khat te bang yam chi le mi ikhiu chenga amit en ge ga chi jang lo ina bang yam chi le amit en ge ga leu to pen za tak lo na da na amawi ngi na sa ngai chenga to da na hi lo ding hi tok samoi tenga.
In the US, if you are not looking at someone in the eye, you look guilty or like you're not listening.
US ya pen amai tang ma di taka iet ke ga ke le anol khong yet le hi pa nong khe mai ve mo cha ma ngai sun zo.
So please look at the officer in the eyes.
Palik to na ki mu cheng na amai ma sal ke ga ding dan hi tok ma.
You should also keep your hands visible.
Te cheng bang hi lai ding niam chi le na khut pen ama mu na koi ding mo na khut sel sim lo ding.
The best way to do that is to keep your hands on the steering wheel.
Hoi pen bang yam chi le na khut pen to moto hek na mo hoi ta ka na khut ngading.
If you feel like you need to call someone for an interpreter, keep your hands on the wheel. Do not reach for your phone.
Na gen te na pau kisam pau le kisam ko em khat na sap kul ding a hi zen zen le zong na phong pen la phe na sam jiao lo ding na khut pen twa mo to hek na ma koi suak lel phot phot ni.
If you start reaching for something, the police officer might think you have a weapon.
Na phong bang yam khat na khut to zam pe zen zen le chin palik pa yung mu na thao mo ai ke la bang yam khat ama avat kik nuam sa ding na ong tel khel thei ma.
So keep your hand on the wheel and just tell the officer your language.
Ta chiang ina na khut pen mo to hei na tunga ngai thia ding ta chiang ina na pau thei bang pau na hiam chi ama gen ding.
The police officer will ask on the radio if anyone speaks your language.
Ta chiang a palik pa ina ma phong tung pa na kiau ding ina tua ran a pau thei om hiam chi ama na ki dong ding ma.
If no one speaks your language from the radio, they will call a language line.
Tua amau i sunga nangi pau a pau thei om ke zen zen le zong kam lek na phong to amau ong zom thei ding ma.
So in my normal presentation, I would click one picture at a time. So
pong man hi le pong man kap iran ina presentation kap ya ki le I aman khat hit khat en to zel hi yong.
I'm sorry you cannot see all the pictures.
Tu ni bel veka en man lo ding I chiang a mo tha khat tuang lak go phi nge.
This was to just show you how police are everyday heroes.
Hi na hi bang lakhiam chi le I palik I chi te pen nisiala eite ading na han chem taka kol pau le tuye kong mo han chem taka hiru ahidente hiru na sep asem te eyong chung kem te hi na hi iman te nang lakhi.
They are trained to be a medical first responder in any medical emergency.
Amau palik te pen ten tan khong bang ka la yam chi le akisap le chinat na te thakat thua siu tu na piu chi mo akisap na pheksa akisap pa le siawan te phial za nong khata ong kem thei dinga ten tanaka.
They are saving lives every day and sometimes even risking their own life.
Mi te inun tak na koi chida na hu thei ding chi amau I han chiam na le na sep na ni siala na sep na ahi na te ki mu thei.
So there is something called an emergency and something that is not an emergency.
Hi na hi thei ding khata bang yam chi le khat emergency chi om vai kin ma te ta chiang ina khat lewa vai kin lo liang lo te nam ni om ma.
In Nashville there are 2 different numbers you should call.
I Nashville la yom chiang ina nam bat nam ni om.
I think we all know 911 if it's an emergency.
911 chi pen ve kana thei hin ni me te to pen emergency tu pi ma vai kin deu chiang be ka 911 ke sam.
And if you don't have this number in your phone, please put it in your phone. It's the non-emergency line.
Hi na phone number chap te na laka hin na nei nai ke na na chiam te leo chin hi pen vai kin lo liang ai lo te hi te to ke sam ding ma. Get guk ni get guk bem amu zo lo khom che toi the cha mo guk khat nga get guk ni get guk bem.
So we call 911 for only emergencies. That means you are afraid of danger or harm.
911 pen bang tenga bek ki sam thayam chi la wai patau na nang la wai ma ta chi na te khong beka thu pi ma te beka 911 ki sam.
If someone's life is at risk or if there has been a crime, that's a 911 emergency.
Nanun tak na ong ki la wai sak za donga twak kha ai ke le den ai chi crime nam mo thu pal sata la wai na kumpi thu pal sat na tuam vai khong om le 911 ki sam.
You should call if you see fire or if there is a car accident with injuries.
mấy kang chỉ tế ta chiang ina motor accident tua kina mi liam chỉ tế khong 911 sam đi.
And then any medical emergency, if someone passes out or if someone's heart doesn't feel right, those are medical
ta
emergencies.
chiang ina dam chi dam na to ke sai ayi po deu bang chỉ đi nghe khoa phong non lâu chỉ tế ta chiang lung tang cái sai đàn man lâu chỉ tế thupi deu te qua khát khát mo cái sam thế.
And just like with the police, all you have to do is dial the number and then say your language.
Palik te den ai chỉ đàn mà number mek ding ta chiang ina na pau thi na ngi pau na thi pen mang pau na thi ke na pau thi gen ding na pau thi bang pau hiam chỉ gen ding.
So you would call the non-emergency police line for anything that you need police, but it's not urgent.
Non-emergency china emergency ahilo te banghuna kisamiam chile palik te bel zasak nuam ayang adenai chidana ayi pogop hilo ayang palik to kisai te mo tua hinambat samdi.
So maybe your neighbor is having another noisy party for the second night in a row.
Na inveng te ina nini kizoma poi bol nge ngai vok go nge ngai chi khong.
And you say, I just need to get some sleep.
Ina to dan te palik hidan nam te samdi ngena nini patak takta I munwam ma maing na chi le hinambat.
You do not have to go yell at them and bang on their door.
Akong kiu gop ding na de taka han san gop ding lo ma ayang I nambat samde.
Just call the non-emergency line and the police will take care of it.
Ta te pe non-emergency 911 ahilo non-emergency nambat denai chap te pen ma.
If there is a crime but there is no more danger, you can call the non-emergency line.
Crime de na crime nam hi ding ina yang tu le tua la hwai non lo nam te pen 911 sap kul lo ina hinambat samdi ma.
So maybe you came home and saw that one of the cars was broken into.
Ina gen te na nang in nong che ding ina na moto khat pen nakisat kham ding to ran nam te hi non emergency nambat ahi dena hinambat chap te pen sam thei di ma.
So now we're going to start talking about different types of crime.
Ta hi na tuna to crime nam khat ma ongen lai ning tuna.
And crime is just anything that's against the law.
Crime chi pen tu hun pal sat na khem pe pen crime ki chi pa ma.
One type of crime is called vandalism.
Crime nam khat pen vandalism chi na in bel guta poi khong chi ale lama I sai bot ahilo pi khat pen nin bunga koi nin bung pen sai bot a khai chi dan nam te mo to te pen vandalism ki chi.
And that's when someone damages public property or private property.
Na hi vandalism pen mi mal I van nei ahi zong ina mi tang pi public I van nei susia polsia mo to nam te zong vandalism ki chi.
Another crime is called burglary.
The crime nam khat leo pen burglary ki chi na in lu.
And that's when someone tries to break into a house or a car to steal something.
Ite pen bangyam chi le in sunga in lu ai ke le moto lu chi te to pen hinam te ma.
Robbery is like stealing but to a person.
Crime nam khat leo pen sut ma van sut ai ke le gu sut chi dan pian nam te ma.
Robbery doesn't have to have a weapon. It just needs to put you in danger.
Robbery chi changa thao nei pa ding chi zong se ke ma ken te na ong cheng chau ding na van ong lak sak ding chi dan nam te.
So even if someone tries to take something from you but they didn't get to take it, it's still called attempted robbery and it's still a crime.
Ina mi khatina na de khat ong ngen ten tan ding ina nang phal lo pi pia to da nang lak sak som ten tan le zong ตัวเป็น attempted robbery กิจนะบางจิตยังไงอะขุดเขียลตะกี้เลี้ยนโลหะงะอโมนานี่เว้ยมั้ง
So the next three types of crimes are a little harder to talk about.
crime นำชุมเลวอมินะอีแต่งาอีกอย่างดีจงตอมหักจะเปลี่ยนนำเตะหิมะ
They are called sexual assault, domestic violence, and child abuse.
ตัวชุมเตะเป็นนุเมลปัสสลามะทุกิมนาโลปีโตกิเขลนาตัวเจียงนะ domestic violence นะอินสุงะขุดเขียลกิวัวจีดานน้ำเลอากำตัดเข้าไปจะเดือดเต็มอ่ะตัวเจ้า child abuse นะนาวปังเตตุงะตัดเสียนนะ
The United States takes these crimes very seriously because everyone has rights.
US ที่นำชุมเตะเป็นทุปีตะกาลาวบางยามจีเละนาวปังให้จงอากัวกวยจงอาเมาอาควนยี rights ในไอ้เจ้าตัวหางหิมะ
So men, women, children, the elderly, animals, and our own bodies have rights in the U.S.
US กว่าแต่งนาคนยังไงยามจีเละภาษาเตขัดนานุเมเตนี่นานาวปังเตตะเจียงอากุมจิงสาเตเละกันหิงจงอาปามอตะเจียงอาอีปุ่มปีเตนะจงอีปุ่มปีเตอีปุ่มปีมาเตนะจงอาควรจี rights ในมอ
So the first crime is sexual assault, and that's when someone touches you without your permission.
อีนะขัดนาเป็นนูละป่าละมา sexual assault จีนะนั่งอีพัลนาอมโลอาเหปียนังองมอกค่อยน่าเป็น sexual assault กันใช่ไหม
So this is what Americans call private areas, and people are not allowed to touch them without your permission.
US private area อีจีอีแต่งมอตัวนะมอกค่อยเทโลดีงั้นจีนะ stop sign.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry if this makes you uncomfortable.
นะยมดันบางจีดิ้งยาอันนบของนบสักกี่ครั้งนั่นแหละ sorry เปล่าไหมมั้ง
Like I said, it's important to talk about because we don't want anyone to be hurt in the U.S.
ไอ้แต่ยมดันอิจากด้านอันนบโลกเจนหางไว้ทุปีเตยเจียงอะไรอีกอย่างโลกพม่ามั้ง
So you need to know that this is wrong and that there's help in the U.S. for this.
ฮีแต่เป็นเขียลฮีหอยโลฮีมันโลฮีจีไล่ที่กูเว่เจียง
So the last thing I will say about sexual assault is that you have to have permission to be intimate with someone.
Sexual assault จีฮีนูเลปาวายะทุกคนต่อกิตวกโลอีกำตัดโลนั่นเองบังเกสามียมจีเล่ขัดเลขัดพัลนาคิดเป็นอย่างพัลนาโลต่อกิหมอกค่อยกอบตัวมุมเทโลมาตัวฮิเซียตอบนะ
In the U.S., you cannot have sex with people under 18 or people with a mental disability.
ยี่นะนาวฮีUS กลุ่มเชียงนายโลเตอฮีจงตัวเชียงนะไงสุดนาอามานโลจิงโจโลเตตัวมั้งนูเลป่าวายากิจบนามาพัลโลมั้ง
The second type of crime that we'll talk about is domestic violence.
นี่นาดนาครายน้ำนี่นะ domestic violence นะอมนาอินห่วงสุงเลยขุดเขียลนามั้ง
And this is abuse that happens in the home, sometimes with parents and their grandparents, or sometimes with husband and wife.
ที่เป็นขัดเวบังกิกาละที่ด้านเตเปียงทยามจีเล่อินูเตตกิจบนายนูเลปาเตตกิจบนายเกลนูเลปาไอเกลเล่ปีเลปูเตตกิจบนาตัวเต็งอิเลมโลเจงขุดขุดกิเขียลเทมา
So there are 50 states in the United States, and every state has their own laws about domestic violence.
US state som nga omina to state som nga te na amau I state chiat domestic violence to kisai atuam chiat amau state atuam chiat neu Tennessee no amau atuamane.
In Tennessee, if police are called for domestic violence, they will see if they can tell who was the person that hurt the other person.
Tennessee law sunga hi domestic violence to kisai palikte nong etcheng ina kwa khut khial hiam chi pen amau ong kan masau ma.
If they think they know who hurt who, they will make an arrest.
Ina kwa tunga khut khial chi kan khia ina ong theu changa tua a khut khial te man ding ma.
If they cannot tell, then they will not make an arrest.
Akwa in khial khazo chia kan thei lo pia mong mat thei tuan lo mau jong ma.
Police will always offer transportation to a safe place and what's called an order of protection.
Tua na tua siat na le bol siat na tua khak chia nga palikte na I ong chin ong kep thei na dinga mun khada mo mau along chong na adai bang chi dia tua la hoi na om lo na ong pai pi thei wa mau ma.
So if someone is in danger, there will always be an option for that person to go safely with police.
Gente na mi khadina tua sia la hoi na tua ka hi zen le palik pa ina palik te ina tua tenga ala hoi lo na pai nuam yam chia mau a pai nop le pai thei na dinga khon yi pe ma.
So domestic violence can look like physical violence, sexual violence, or verbal abuse.
Ina domestic violence in huang sung in sunga gamtat siat na pen khut bangaya khut lekhe to khial kha ta chiang ina nu le pa vaya aki bangaja tu hun to kipal sat a to khial na te jong hi the.
It can also involve isolation, so someone is trying to make you feel very alone and not able to talk to anyone.
Ta chiang di domestic violence chiang de tak kam kilom ki tok lo khau go pa pau go na jong ni the ta chiang ama to ki set san lo ama be kom sak mo mi khat be kom sak ena to ran nam te jong hi the.
It can also be economic abuse where you don't have any access to your money.
Ta chiang economic abuse na sum le pai lama jong bang ma hi the non lo dia ki khak tan go chi dan nam khong dong hi the.
So something to just remember is that love should never hurt. Someone who says they love you should not be hurting you.
Amawi amoto khada love shouldn't hurt ina ina ong bol selo mo mi khadina ong yiding chinga ngoi ong sui gop le lem lo chi dan mo.
So this is a statistics to show you that 33% of women and 25% of men experience domestic violence.
Ina hi amawi mu na tuat angai tua amu khian na nu mei thum laka khatina domestic violence to ki sai tua kha mo tua te impact amawi nau set tuai mo nga kha pasal li laka khatina tua dan tua kha.
We want that statistic to be 0. We don't want anyone to experience domestic violence.
Koi han cham na thum laka khat tua kha chi dinga han cham lo thum laka bemin tua kha bem kwa man atua khak lo na dinga koi han cham na hi ma.
The more we talk about it, the more people will realize that it is not allowed.
Tua da na igen na pen gen le hang mi ten thei te kena a thei na tung to na hi tu pal sat na te bol non lo.
The last big crime we will talk about is called child abuse.
Atom na pen crime la ka atom na pen naw pang te bol siat na.
Very similar to domestic violence, it can look like sexual abuse, verbal abuse, or emotional.
Hi naw pang te bol siat na zong nu le pa ki zop na vai zong hi thei ta changa khut le khe hi kingak na khut le khe tat siat na zong hi thei ta cha ngai sut na lam ngai sut hoi lo lam to ki sai zong crime ki nei the ta cha neglect chi na nau pang te kha zau gop mo lampi tung kho tai sak gop ta dan te zong i the.
Something that is specific to child abuse is called neglect.
Hi child abuse laka atupi ma khat pen neglect ki chi ma to tupi as ngai sut wai khat.
So because children have rights in the US, that responsibility for caring for them falls on the parents.
Hi na nau pang te na US ya pen nau pang te a khwen ji ne ve rights ne ai chianga nau pang te aching akem ding te kwai tawan yam chile nu le pa tunga tawan mo pong naw mo.
Children in the US have rights to a free education.
US ya nau pang te na sumpiak ku lawa khon khonga sangka na ding a khwen ji amau ne.
So it is the parents' job to make sure that the children go to school.
Tai chianga amau sang pen Africa ka the na ding a khon ni ngai chianga nu le pa tawan pen to tanga bang yam chile nau pang te sang Africa ka the na ding a han cham pi ding pen nu le pa mo pok he lew mo.
It's a parent's job to make sure that their child is clean and has good hygiene.
Ta chianga nu le pa tawan bang yam chile nau pang te oi ta ka siang tho sak ding sop siang set ding chi dan te khong ma nu le pa.
And then neglect could also be not taking proper safety measures, such as a car seat or putting chemicals out of reach.
Ta chianga hi neglect la ka bang pa yam chile nau pang te moto tunga car seat to hoi tak tuang sak te chi khong tuan sak kul ding ta chiang na hi chemical nau pang te ding ala huai tom te pen nau pang te I bat lo na koi ding chi khong pen nu le pa mo bwak hi ma.
In the US, we look out for signs of neglect because we know that children cannot always speak up for themselves.
In US ya ko pen hi da na nu le pa ina nau pang akha zau gop te koi taka chin ding a kilo ma ching lo chin ni mo neglect ti china to ran te pen hoi taka ko pen en koi bahang yam te nau pang te na amau le ma ki to deu thei nai lo I chang.
So just because we know about child abuse doesn't mean that we shouldn't discipline our children.
Nau pang te bol sian na chi igen gen lai takena bang again nom hilo yam chile nau pang te pen si kan to uk thei lo ding chi na hilo ma.
So every state has its own rules about spanking.
State tuam ma amau I state to kizuya nau pang te koi chida na ato sat ding koi chida na sat ding chi ma amau I rule tuam ne state khat le khat ke bang lo.
Tennessee says you may spank your child with an open hand and with pants on.
Tennessee state sunga itu hun bang yam chile nau pang te na sat ding chianga na khut kha khe ding mo na khut tum lo ding na khut kha khe ding na pei tuam aten pei tuam so sak ninga so sak lo ding na pei tuam teng sa thei pan ei state law mo.
Spanking should never be done in anger when the adult is angry.
Ta chianga hi nau pang te sa chianga nau pang hi achinga kem nu le pai zong ina a u te he gop sa sat lo zo ding mo he lai ta ka phek sa sat phei ding chi dan te hi lo ding.
There is a lot of research that has been done that says spanking is only appropriate for ages 5 to 8.
In research then again chiang ina to I kisat mo khut to sat chi pen nau pang te kum nga pa na kum gyat ki kal ading ina hoi pen khathei ding I chi research then mu mo to pen lobel hilo research chi changa thu azong bang ya thu kan te ma.
And there's even more research that says that spanking just confuses the child because we tell children don't hit, but then we hit our children.
ikisat na hang ina naw pangte angai sun na u confused mo angai sun na u siang lo kitel lo zo ba yam chilen mi sat ken chi na en ama sat phei chang mo en naw pangte minang mi sat lo ding chen en ama sat phei chang akoi chi da la kanun la mi sat ken chin ke rang sat chi to ke bai cha mo.
So we encourage parents to use incentives and privileges. Those words.
Yeah. Ina koi kong thap yang na wa I nula pate na gente na privilege incentive privilege changa I gente na anade ma khat mo lak sak phot ding ina nathuman keile ong pelo ding nathuman chang ong pekik ding chi dan nam mo gente na Walmart pai nom ma khong naw pangom the mo Walmart nathuman keile Walmart ong pai sak lo chi dan nam a khwen ji te lak sak ding athuman chang a khwen ji pekik ding.
So we have made it through all of the very difficult talk.
Tu ni again siang set ding dong aksat ma hang na avek pi na gen siang thei ta ngai lung na me.
So thinking about all of the types of crime that we've talked about today, I want you to know that there are resources for people who are victims of crime.
Tu ni hi crime to kisai kongen na tuam mongen ning na to again na crime kam haksan na tuam itu hak le hu nget na ai zong na ma resources in ma hu nang pe thei ding to adan ong pan pi thei ding tam pi ta kom ma.
Nashville, well, Tennessee is the only state that has a social worker in the police department to work with refugee crime victims.
Nashville pen palik department le social worker te khut kile na tua de na haksat na tuak te ahu state kharahi na jong phokul mo ina social worker te le palik te mau na sem phom.
So if crime happens to you, do not call me if you're in danger. I do not have a gun. I cannot save you.
Ina lao wai na khat na tua khak zen le ka phong nam wat nong sam ke wo mo bam che le ken tem jong nei lo thao jong nei lo hu thei lo ding lao wai wat na mo patau wat na tu le tua na tua khak wat wa hi le.
If it is after the crime, you may call me and ask how I can help you.
Ayanga tu le tu hi lo ala wai na tu le tua om non sam lo ayanga nau se toi tam pi tak na tua khak na om lai zen le tua nau set tuai ai khonung thu teng pen na vai tam lai le ke yong sam thei te ken dong khai thei jang hu ding mo.
When crime happens, I encourage you to call the police to make a police report.
Ta chang dana chidana crime nam na tua khak zen le tha kong piang no pa palik te report ding na palik te report na afal report na la ding mo.
Sometimes there is help for certain crimes, but there has to have been a police report made within 24 hours.
Ina hi palik report te pen nai som ni nai li sunga ama kinga thei mo.
Okay. So many things can be disrupted in your life when you experience crime.
Ina hi crime na tua khak zen le na set jong de ta ka ke kitang gop the ke bangia ki baban ki zom the lo the ai chang na.
So for example, maybe you got robbed, and when you were robbed, someone punched you.
Ina mi khat ina na yin sung ong lu ina ong lu tina ong tum bangai zen le.
So then your jaw is broken and you lost your wallet and ID and money.
Na kha ki loi ta chianga na sumbo mong lak sak na ID teng mangai zen le.
So I can help find different resources to get those things back for you.
Tua dan namte na tua khak zen le ken koi chida na hu na nga thei ding kwa nong hu thei ding chi te ki palena ken tua te ong pan pi thei ni
Sometimes I help with medical bills, sometimes I help with making sure you don't lose your job, different things.
ta chiang ke kong hu thei la ya za to bil tuam te khong ai zong ena ta chiang ena na sep na pen tua haksan na tua na tung to na kitan chi bang te na tua lo na di wa ken jong pan pi thei
If that person is caught by the police, then they will go to jail and you will likely go to court.
Ina tua da na ong bol sia khat aum zen le palik ten amat zo zen le to pa pen thonga pai jing ina nang jong khota na pai ve kul khathei ding athu na na bagen sian kul khathei
A big part of what I do is I go to court with people because it's a very confusing process.
To da na khot nang jong ama avai na report kul na sian sak kul lai changa ke kong ke ka hi pen khot pai pi tua aksat na tuak te mo khot pai pi chi khonga amau tel chian lo te jong gen chian hu chi dan te hi thei
So I can help you talk with the lawyers and figure out what is the best justice for you.
ta changa na sin ni te to na nga ding ina ma hoi pe niam che na sin ni te to ki kum din ki ho ding ina nang to da nang pan pi thei ni
And the last thing that I can do is refer people to counseling services.
ta cha tom na ka hi kong hi pi thei ya bang yam chi le e kebal ki tam zat nai ke na counseling chin mo vai tom ki kup pi na counseling na dei u le ta te ken ong zop pi thei
And counseling is important for our emotional health.
counseling pen hi ingai sut na emotion to ki sai I chidam na ngai sut na chidam na ding amo wakate ngai sut na hoi non lo ba mi pong man mi bang lo chi te khong counseling la le hoi ma mo
When we experience danger, our brain remembers those feelings as trauma.
la wai na khat boi to khak changa I khwakina trauma china phok den chiam te nana kheng chine mo khwak so nana omo mai changa to pe pen trauma I sei ta za dan mo kol pa na sei ta za dana om sok te
So maybe certain things will remind you of that danger later on.
tua trauma nei le chin ni dang pe ka na tua khak pen ong dok ki the je lai changa tua ran te ki sam
The best way to work through that trauma and those reoccurring fears are to talk with a counselor.
tua ran te hak san na tua ni dang na tua khak na te ong pai ki trauma na nei zen le counseling te to ki mo khom le chin hoi ma di to
So this is the building where I work. It's called the Family Safety Center.
ke kana sep na building pen hi teng hi na the family safety center chin ma tua itenga building na sem hing
It's very close to here on Murfreesboro
na bia kinu
Pike.
to jong kinai pe mai
Okay. So on March 7 at 10 o'clock in the morning, we will have a ceremony to open the building to
March
anyone.
ka ni sagi ni changa hi ka hi building pen hon na nei ding jing sang nai so ma mo
Everyone is welcome to come on March 7 at 10 o'clock,
Man
and
is-
you will see the new building.
ma ni sagi ni jing sang nai so mi na ya building phun po ya nong pai na ding na jong sam nge
Okay? So if you are a victim of crime or know someone who is a victim, you can tell them this is where they need to go.
dena nang ma mai na crime tuak kha bol sian na hak san na tuak kha ta chiang ina nang na tuak kha kpia jong ina a tuak kha mi na the zen le ya a building number ale saw mi na to tenga pai the hiu te chia jong na lom te na gol te jong gen te ma
You do not have to have an appointment, but
appointment lak kul lo
if you want to be seen in a certain amount of time, then it's better to make an appointment.
ayang gen te na nang na manun to ni lian to hun lian na man thei bek ing na chi zen level appointment lak kul to lo wa ile ki pai jiao ke appointment lak kul lo wa ma
I know we have covered a lot today. We've talked about police laws and crime.
tu ni ki ho tam ma mai na palik to ke sai ta changa thukun to ki sai ta changa crime to ki sai gen tampi ta gen hangina
Does anyone have any questions?
tua tampi ta ki gen lakte laka na dot no pu mi pi lak pa nam hiya
zip code amawi office
The code of the office?
the
Office zip
division I guess the tua de kieng mo tua division pen mo
This, the zip code? Good? Okay. Glad we could answer that.
You already got it.
Okay.
That number So non-emergency phone number, is it only for Nashville or Tennessee?
It's for Nashville,
Nashville.
Davidson County.
Davidson County.
That was a good question.
Because it doesn't cover Rutherford County.
I don't believe so. They have their own police in Rutherford County.
Samana ko pilang panang pai. Te kawalo mo.
I think
Davidson
though,
County.
if you Google Rutherford County non-emergency,
Google as ang omdal sa amin te Rutherford County non-emergency.
you will probably
Phone number.
find its own number.
Ang doon sa ni nag-isap rin dyan ulit mo kan. Doon na bomla yeah. If they don't have a question, I have my own question. What if? Let me tell them in my language first. Question kat dong ni mo kadon no pa. Palik khong ina yinang ung lut pei jia wa thuam lo pi en bang mala thei lo. Ong man jen jen le bang chi tam chi dong ni o. Oi na sao ya. USA vek tham lo kol gama jong ki tuak thei ma. Kol gama bang pen palik teng pa yinang lut inang man henan jiao thei chi khong omina. Ei le ki defend na ding ma. So my question is, what if a police officer or officers came into my house or encounter me and starting to arrest without knowing anything about the case for the matter for arrest? So what should I defend or what should I do?
You should ask for your language line to be called. Just keep saying your language because they have to explain why you're under arrest and they have to read you your rights.
Tua bang ina palikte na thum lo pia ong na thu thei nai lo pia mo ong mat som jen jen na apau la na thei ke le nangi pau na thei na language mo zo mi mo ai ke le Burmese mo chia gending ina ong sap sakun chi ding tua ong sap sakit chiang ama ong sien pia ko ong sien pia lo amat kwan nga lo mo. So without them explaining to me the reason for arrest, they cannot do anything or.
So police can put you in handcuffs if they think that you could be dangerous or if they know that they are going to arrest you.
Palikte na nang pe na la huai mi ama ori la huai mama khata ong ngai su ta hi zen zen level na khutu jong na khut ong khi ve ve thei ma ala huai khan nai le ta chiang na the second part, if they are going to arrest, what do you say?
And if they are going to arrest you, they have to read you what's called Miranda rights. So that means they will tell you you have a right to a lawyer and a right to be silent.
Gen te na ina ong mat jen jen ding ole. Do you say Miranda rights? Miranda rights in ken zong bal tel lian king en tualian. Tua pen bang hiam chi le bang a khwani yam chi le mat thei na dinga a khwan ma a mawi ta ya wen ta ka tua alai ani kulina tua alai ong sim khia tu kul ma ong mat thei na dinga.
You do not have to answer any questions if you are being arrested. That's what your rights say.
Ta chiang ina I thu thei lo pia mok don lo jong hoi zo ta chiang a I ong dot khatu mo dong nuam keng ong dong nuam keng na chi le kinga dong ten tan ding chi lo mo na kha pe pe na mau akut se na ong dong the chang atwa te dong nom keng na chi le jong nang akhwan ji nang nei ma adango.
That's another thing too. If you are the one that is in trouble, I won't be able to help you. I can only help the victim who's been hurt.
Nang pen agam tat sian na hi mok level ke nong hu thei lo ding aya nga nang athuak na hi level ke nong hu thei pan di chi jong ong gen no mi nge Can I send my question by texting you or to me or to her?
To me? Yes, you can text whatever that my phone number with my picture. This bottom number, the work cell phone, you can text me. To be private, yes.
I think he got a question. A crime to a crime. Okay, so you presented 3 different kinds of crime, and what would be the most concerning crime you have in mind for the youth? That's the first question. And the second question is, if we experience or if we had crime, will it affect our employment, future career in a later time? So 2 questions.
The crime that I think is most important for youth to know is about sexual assault. So someone touching you inappropriately or forcing you to be intimate with them.
Crime to be the penbel then sexual assault in nule pa vaya would low be de lopia ki kisop na tema to te pen te wai le to be the win ngai suni.
Unfortunately, that happens a lot in our country.
Tua tu pen hi USA tam vei pi tak ki tua kha ma ki tua kha chet.
And then your second question, if you are guilty of a crime, will that affect your future?
Na ban ni na pen ma kente na crime tua khading na tua ina sep na mai la mang nong kai sak yam chi to ki sai pen.
The short answer is yes. But it depends on the crime.
Nong kai sak khathei ding.
But it depends on the type of crime.
Ayang ina bang to ki sai yam chi bang dana mi koi dan to ki sai le lo yam chi le koi dan nam tua khan hiam chi to jong ki sai ve ve ma.
So sometimes the 2 lawyers will reach an agreement for you to take a class, and then it will go away from your record.
The 2 lawyers, you said?
The defense lawyer and the prosecution lawyer. They will agree that if you take this class, we won't keep this crime on your record.
Na pol kha khat changa hi isin ni te mo lang le lang sin ni te tukim na to class ka ding na class ka na tung to ni na nang I record pen ki phiat thei mo mai lama na record om non lo de chi jong alam pi bel om ve ve da ni to ma.
Sometimes the crime is too big and they can't offer you that deal.
Ayang hi na crime na tua kha pol khat pen na selo de tu pi lo de wai changa na record sunga phiat thei lo nam jong om ve ve da ni to ma.
But we want to remain on the good side of the law so we don't have to worry about our future and our jobs.
I think he was asking as a victim.
Oh, I'm sorry. If you are a victim of crime, does that affect your
Nang
future?
pen gen te na agam tat sia hi lo ina mi bol sia na athuak ba na dot ma te victim ti changa athuak te ama ong don na pen so he just clarified to both the victims as well as the
yeah. So if you are the victim, no, it should not affect your job. It should not affect your
nang
future.
athuak ka na hi le mo nang athuak ka nang amo lo na hi le chimai ne amo lo na hi le bang ma record om lo di ayang amo na hi zen le.
When jobs run background checks, they are looking for people who have committed a crime.
Tua gen te na nang amo lo na hi le bel gen na vedom lo bang mam lo ayang amo na hi zen le na sep bang isau chang amao background check ang hi ma to tenga gam tat hoi lo gam tat sia mo chi dan te ngeno ma.
And even applying for colleges, they will ask you, have you ever been convicted of a crime?
College kong na siya uchang abang crime mo na kumpi tu palasat na bol ngi hiam chia college siya lo ko zong o mai be mo to ada nang dong.
But a college will never ask you if you are a victim of a crime.
Ayang college na siya uchang nang to adan mo lo pia nang na tua khayam chi bel ong dong ngai lo dingu nang na tat sang ngai hiam na mo ngai hiam chi lam be ong dong dingu dong da me me de to le. Oh, yeah, pure mangin let lam masai. Tole last two question I guess.
Okay.
Atop na ni na pure imang chinin ta sia swan mo. Okay, so I want to ask if someone wants to become a police officer or even soldiers become go to the army. How does she or he need to start it from elementary or high school or something like that? How to get started? And then the second question is, if someone become a police officer, what's the pay rate?
Those are very good questions, and we need more people from all around the world to be police officers. So for the pay, police officers start around $45,000 to $50,000.
Kasumpen palikte akipat na kum khata tul som lile tul nga pan tul som nga le tul nga ki kala akipat na ma kum khata tul som li le tul nga pan tul som le tul nga ki kal chiang to ki pan to pa.
It depends on your education level.
Ta chiang nga palik nang na pil na sin na degree na nga na to jong ki sai lai mo na kasumpen.
So if you are a youth, I think you have to work at least 3 to 5 years, maybe it's 3 years, before you can apply for the police academy.
Hina khang no khat na hi le palik academy palik sangka na pai thik na ding na kum thum bang na sem ngei mi khat ding khang no na hi le mo ta dan.
If you are
palik ten tan apai te.
If you are 21 years old or older, then you can apply.
You can apply, right?
You can.
Then khang no chi chang som ni le khat noi sia ma som ni le khat tung sia na hi le xiao xiao te palik zuma ma palik ten tan ka na sanga.
You also have to be a US citizen and pretty good at English.
Ta chang khat ki sam leo ina US citizen na hi kul ta chang mang pau zong na vom pian kul mo na siam pian.
Sometimes they take people who have a green card and have worked in the military.
Paul khat chiang twin set omina I gentena green card nei ding na gal kap alut ngei hi zen le to ten a khon yi ngai na palik swak thei lew green card to mo gal kap alut green card to alut si ding to te ben citizen swak nai ke jong a palika a khon yi khat to pai thei ma.
So if you are thinking about becoming a police officer, you have to think about which city do I want to be a police officer.
Palik na swa nob zen le na ngai su di thupi ma khat bang yam chi le koi khwa mo koi khwa palik sem nom ka hiam chi ngai sut masak kul to jong thupi.
Because Nashville has its own police, Smyrna has its own police, Franklin has its own police.
Bang yam chi le Nashville na amau police department amau I palik niat samana zong amau palik nei Franklin zong amau palik nei tua mai changa tuam taka.
So you have to apply to the city's police academy.
Tua hi na tua akhwa Nashville chi te ta changa de na akhwa palik sangka na te ya na xiao kul ma koi tenga ka nuam thei ding na ka nom na palik sang te to tenga sangka na ding xiao.
The US military you can apply to when you're 18.
Ta chiang ina palika hi lo tua gal kap lam te lew chiang US ya kum som le kum giat na chin khit le ki xiao the.
And you do not have to be a US citizen.
US gal kap lew chiang citizen swak ki sam lo citizen na swak nai ke jong lut the.
With the US military, you do not choose where you live, you go where you are sent.
And le khat lew US gal kap na tum zen le tua tenga sem no ming chi kinga lo na ama ong pok na sem kul sep kul le.
Does that answer all of the parts of your question? Okay.
I think he got a question too, Pastor. Nạp lên bằng ấy bọc vào và tới bên quả sắm đi chỉ đàn mà. So he got actually 3 questions. I don't know whether we can cover all of them, but anyway, the first question is the DUI record. How many years it remain? That's the first question. The second question is if we have an accident in let's say in a parking lot and we call police and the police really wouldn't come, in that case what should we do? And the third question, there are some unaccompanied dogs and animals, something like that. If we have those in our neighborhood or nearby our house, what is the best way to deal with them?
I don't know how long a DUI stands on your record, but you can call your COCO and ask them.
DUI pen record bang tan ve chi bel thei lian ke nge na de na COCO chia twa yat kwat to ki sai de wa tawanong la te sam leo na mau thei pa le lin te. Second question, the parking lot accident.
So like I said, with the emergency and the non-emergency, if there is a car accident but no injuries, you don't really need the police there.
Hina dena emergency hi lo te ang gening ina ta chang ina gen na parking lot kwa ma liam lo ahi zen zen bel palik ki sam hol lo da ni to.
If there are injuries, you should call the police.
Mi iliam zen level palikong pai kul palik jong isap kul ma มีเลียมแหละ
But if there are no injuries, just make sure you take lots of pictures of everything so that you can report it to your insurance.
เลียมนาใบนากว่ามาเลียมโลไอ้สินแหละปลิกสับกุลโลวินะอายังอ่ะนโมโตอากิเสียนนาเต็งหอยตะกามันอติเสียใจดิ่งนะน่าใจคิดจังอ่ะตัวเป็นในอินชูเรนต์ตัวรีพอร์ตเป็นดิ่งตัวไอ้แหละอากิลอมกิตัวกังอากิดิฉันมั้ง
That means also taking a picture of the other driver's license.
นี่นะเดนะมันใจดิ่งจิตจังอ่ะเกณฑ์เดนะมีดังขัดตัวกิตายขาปลิกปักกิ่งอ่ะกิตายขาในอินเซนแหละอามาอีไอดีเดมันใจดิ่งนะรีคอร์ดหอยตะเกนดีมั้ง
And then your third question was about people who are in our country illegally.
No, the bang kitiala to we vakzao some pets unaccompanied pets just walking around the neighbor or the house. What should we do? Catch them.
Do not catch animals that you do not know.
Okay.
Yeah, because they could bite you and they could have a disease.
His concern is okay. So his concern is more of the pet is not accompanied by the owner, and maybe the pet is we are in danger. The pet might bite or something like that. If we have that kind of dangerous situation, what should we do?
So if you think
I think yeah.
If you think that the pet might hurt you and you're not able to get away, that's a 911 emergency.
Hina awi mo ganhing mo lawai na nang bang lo khat ong hi ding tok ki bang lawai pian a hi zen zen le to pe 911 sap thei.
If you can get away, go to a safe spot and call the non-emergency line.
Gen te nai na nang tai khe thei sam awin ui gen te na ui bang lang jan del gop lo nang ki hem khe thei ayang la lawai pian kwa man la ching lo kem lo a hi zen zen le 911 hi non lo ding na de na emergency a hi lo to number ip pong piak pen sam le hang ma. Yeah. Well, I think that's it. Thank you so very much for coming out. Can we just express our appreciation? And we really love you because of your commitment to the community. And there are a lot of churches here in Nashville as well. So we might want more presentation like that, different topic as well, I guess. We really appreciate. Adang izak sak dingom lai na. And you are very much welcome. Regularly we have youth service every Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Since your office is very close by church building, yeah, you can join us. And then we have a regular Sunday service at 2 p.m. And you're very much welcome, as well as Judah, to worship with us. Yeah, thank you so very much. ข้าเวลุงน้ำกูน่าต้องขุดแบ่งง่ายๆเร็วๆนี่เลยอาจังอมไลนะขังหนูลำปันสักเดียง